Howdy folks, I'm Brian and here's some Reddit. Well, today you can see I have on a nice red shirt, but oh, it's not red, it's blue! I was playing around with the chroma key and I was like, I wonder if I could turn my blue shirt into a red shirt, and I did. I am used myself. This is how I keep myself entertained, folks, playing with chroma key. Alright, let's get started here. No more shenanigans or fooling around with chroma key, Brian. Apparently I had the wrong story on that whole time. We're not going to redo the intro because I laughed too much for it. Alright, let's get started. Our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Complaining About the Gifts My Partner Got His Housemate and Her Daughter an Easter Basket and Not Me? Yes, that is as confusing as possible. I'm a 27-year-old female and I've been living with my partner, a 37-year-old male, in his house and have always felt uncomfortable that he allows a friend, a 28-year-old female, and her daughter, a 6-year-old female, to also stay rent-free after she went through a nasty breakup. He always says he doesn't care and he has 5 spare bedrooms and they are friends and his kid is innocent, etc. Now, my partner and I have a very open relationship with a few set rules, which has always been great despite a few hiccups, and that is to be expected. Lately, I've noticed how, since he's great with her daughter, our housemate has been making suggestive comments about how lucky I am and how great he is with the kids, which has made me uncomfortable. I spoke to my partner, who said it's probably nothing. She's probably just happy that her daughter was happy, nothing more, while mentioning, why don't you cook when I play with her and join in, and then it's not just me that she mentions. For Easter today, he bought me a number of gifts, but I noticed that in the lounge room he had bought 2 enormous baskets for them, but not me. He also bought the kid a few toys and put from daddy, since she thinks her daddy is awesome, and he said he doesn't want to see her sad when she learns the truth about her dad. We then go into an argument because I told him it's BS that he's spending quite a large sum of money on them and they already live here rent-free. I told him it would have been better if he had bought 3 baskets so all the girls can talk and compare and bond. He agreed and went and bought another one while saying he should have thought it through. I then told him that he needs to tell the 6-year-old female that he bought the gifts and not her deadbeat dad, but he refused and said that he knows what it's like to not have any gifts and no love on important days, so he just wants her to be happy. I told him it's not his responsibility, as they have been getting a free ride, and he snapped back saying that this is his home that he owns, and that I've enjoyed a free ride too, and he chooses who pays what since he owns it. I got mad and stormed off and told him that I won't be talking to him until he apologizes to me for being inconsiderate. He told me that I really need to think about what I'm saying. Am I the jerk for trying to force him into telling her about her dad, for wanting them to pay their way? Any advice would be greatly appreciated. We should give advice on this one. I thought it was pretty self-evident, but I mean, if you guys want some advice, I mean, that's what I'm here for, right? Giving some advice. OP, your boyfriend's a saint. Enough said. You're entitled, and you need to learn not to be so entitled. Let your boyfriend do what he wants with his money. It's not like it seems like you guys are hurting at all. It's not like you're struggling to make ends meet. And even if you were, having a kid be happy on a day is not really that big of a deal. It sounds like you're really jealous. It sounds like you're having some jealousy issues. You mentioned that you have an open relationship, and I suspect that this is part of where your jealousy issues lie. Maybe you have a open relationship policy where you're not supposed to tell each other or anything like that. I really honestly don't know. So I mean, if this is a jealousy issue, then I think you just need to resolve your feelings and start to work out why you're feeling this way. What he's doing here is really nice. It seems like he's got a golden heart. So Yeah, let him do what he wants with his money. It's not really like it seems like anyone's hurting here. It seems like he has enough to support all of you folks, so don't make us think about this. All right, folks, it looks like when I was doing this, I forgot to set the zoom. I don't really want to reread that one, so I do apologize. So, sorry if some of the words were cut off on the edge there. I guess I'll do a better job this next one that we read. Speaking of the next one we're going to read, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Making My Neighbor Remove the Eggs He Put in My Yard for an Easter Egg Hunt? Since Wednesday, my neighbor asked me if he could hide eggs in my yard, I'm a 28-year-old male, as part of an Easter egg hunt they wanted to do for the kids who were coming to their barbecue. Our yards are right next to each other, and only pavement divides them, so no fence, which I'm thinking about setting up after what just happened. He asked 3 times, and each time I said no because I don't like the idea of a bunch of little kids I don't know coming into my yard. Besides, he wants to hide most of them in my garden, and I wouldn't trust a 6-year-old not to step on my flowers or knock over a pot. He's been mad since I repeatedly said no and explained why. Their yard is just as big as mine, so I don't know why they needed my space too. Yesterday, I was having some car trouble, so I took it in to my friend who's a mechanic, not getting it back until Tuesday. So, guess because my car wasn't in my driveway, they assumed that I wasn't home. Because in the morning, when I'm doing work in my basement, I hear footsteps nearby. I checked my hidden security cam, and I see that my neighbor is walking back to his house from my yard. Right away, I go outside to confront him, and he looked panicked. Honestly, I have no idea what he thought, and why he thought that was a good idea. Like, even if I wasn't home at the time, what made him think I wouldn't get there and say something when his kids were in my yard? I was just so mad. He told me to please let them do this since the eggs were already spread out and his family was going to be home soon. At that moment, I was seriously mad, so I told him to either take all the eggs back or I'm throwing them out myself. He then got mad and was calling me names under his breath, but he picked them up and left. I'm going to go check out my yard to make sure he got them all, and his wife was giving me a dirty look too when he was talking to her. They had their little party and their Easter egg hunt in their own one yard. I was just out there, just now, watering my plants, and they were cleaning up. My neighbor was still mad at me, and he told me that he hopes I'm happy with what I did. Right now, I'm more calm and not mad at him anymore. I'm kind of wondering if I was a jerk to make him pick up his stuff and not letting them use my yard. Honestly, I was ticked off in the moment that he went into my yard after me telling him that I didn't want him to do that. Alright, OP. I'm gonna have to say that you're not the jerk here. I agree with Reddit. I think that the thing is that you gave him an answer 3 times, you told him no each time, and he completely disregarded your wishes here. He basically thought that he was going to be sneaky and get away with it when he saw that you weren't home. And, you know, he knew what he was doing wasn't right, and you shouldn't use people's yards if they don't want you to. And honestly, I really have a hard time faulting you here. You have a garden, you don't want kids trampling your plants, and if they did, then you would be upset and frustrated about it, and I really don't think that's unreasonable here. Also, I mean, theoretically, you could be held liable if a kid ended up getting injured in your yard the way things are these days. Sometimes people can be litigious, so if you had, like, something in your yard, like a piece of glass or something like that, and you didn't know about it, and a kid cut themselves on it, someone might actually hold you responsible for having that in your yard, even if you didn't realize they were having an Easter egg hunt. So, yeah, it's really hard to fault you and blame you in this situation, because I really honestly think that you tried to tell them not to do this, and then they went ahead and tried doing it anyways. You just did not consent to this. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Not the jerk. No one is entitled to use your property but you. And if one of the kids had hurt themselves in your yard, it's your insurance that would have to go up. Also, if they damaged anything, do you honestly think that your neighbor would have paid for the damages? I don't. Put up a good fence with a gate that locks. And OP replies, "Oh, that's a good point about the kids getting hurt. Didn't even occur to me." Definitely not the jerk. It's fine for your neighbor to have asked you, but not obligated to say yes. And he definitely crossed the line with hiding them in your yard when he thought you were gone. Who does that? Oh, right, an entitled jerk does that. Put up that fence. Speaking of entitled people, our next letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for turning my ex-brother-in-law away from my home with his young child?" Some quick background. My sister married young, 18, had her daughter and son young, 19 and 20 respectively, and she died at 26. My sister's husband wasn't able to cope and gave the kids to our parents to raise. And after a few months, it was decided that I would become their legal guardian. The kids are happy, adjusted teenagers who have no contact with their father. My former brother-in-law has more kids. He has a son with a woman named G, who there is no contact with. She did reach out several years ago, but expected us to basically take responsibility for supporting her and her son when he wouldn't, and cut us off when we didn't. But there are no hard feelings since she was very young and on her own. About a year and a half ago, he reappeared and reached out to my parents and then to me about taking the kids back. I told him he didn't just get to reappear and claim the kids after almost a decade of nothing. He told me that he was remarried and had more kids so they would have parents and siblings to be with. I told him there needed to be some effort given to let them get to know him. It was brought up in court and the kids stated that they did not want to have a relationship with him. The judge ordered therapy, and when the therapist suggested they had a good outlook on everything, it was ruled the decision should be theirs. This was during lockdown. So Wednesday, I was home and he shows up with his youngest child saying stuff hit the fan and he needed me to watch the child for him. I told him no and asked him to leave. He tried to insist, but I told him he needed to leave and couldn't just drop his child off on my doorstep. Again. A day later, he called to complain at me about it. He has my number from court. He told me it's wrong to turn someone away with their child and that we used to be family once and he's still the father of my niece and nephew. No, he's not. I told him I'm the person who raised his kids and he should respect me and respect when I say no. I still don't know what was going on, which maybe I should have asked what happened when he showed up. I don't know. Am I the jerk? Yes, OP, you're totally the jerk in this situation. You should raise all of your brother's children. I mean, he should drop off all the rest of his kids and you should just raise them all. And yeah, that seems perfectly reasonable. I mean, of course not here. LP, you are not a jerk in this situation. Your brother is, I don't know what his issue is, but certainly he needs to get his act together here. He's trying to use you as free babysitting. He may be trying to use your kids as free babysitting. I really don't know. It's really odd that he just wants to show up out of the blue, take kids that are already raised, essentially, and basically have them as part of his family. They don't know him. They've never had a relationship with him. And this seems like a really unreasonable request. And I mean, in court, clearly, the judge ruled in your favor, so the judge and the law thinks this is an unreasonable request. He needs to not do this kind of stuff. He needs not to drop his kids off when things get rough, and at the very best, he should have given you like a call and said, hey, things aren't doing so well. Can you take my kids for a little while? And then you could have said no on the phone because you're already raising 2 children that he abandoned, so you don't need to do any more for him. But yeah, no, not the jerk. Not the jerk at all. You fed, clothed, and loved these kids as your own. You're doing so much for him. The entitlement that he thinks he is owed even more than you literally caring for his kids is insane. If anything, he should be indebted to you for caring for his kids for so long. Yes. Hopefully he's paying child support. OP replies, I didn't actually adopt them. I did become their legal guardian, which is basically the same, only birth certificates never changed and neither did their name. But yeah, apparently all of that is nothing to him. And considering my niece and nephew were grieving their mom at the time, it wasn't exactly an easy few years with them at first. Sounds like he wanted the older kids to babysit the younger. Absolutely agree with this. The kids were about 16 and 17 when he showed back up demanding that they live with him. He didn't want the kids, he wanted a free live-in babysitter. Exactly. I think this is probably a reasonable assumption to make. Speaking of assumptions, am I the jerk because I assumed my friend couldn't handle her job and that's why she quit? My friend and I, both 24, have the same job title and work for rival companies. I love my position. When I'm with said friend, I will talk all about it. She, on the other hand, doesn't say much, other than she likes what she does. See, our job requires a lot of both physical and mental adequacy. That is an odd word to use there. I've been blessed with both. She's more on the weak side. This isn't an insult, but it's a fact. She ghosted me for 3 weeks after she miscarried. When we finally talked again, I started asking her about the job and how it was going. She told me she had quit without telling me why. I just assumed that she couldn't handle the work. I'm not judging. Again, it takes a certain person for this job. To sympathize, I told her it's hard work. Some people just can't manage that type of role, and that's okay. Out of nowhere, she called me a tactless bee. She started screaming that she quit because she's in grief and pain and her company showed her no compassion despite the whole staff apparently gossiping about it. The incident has impacted me in so many other ways. My boyfriend actually sided with her, which resulted in us fighting too. His stepdaughter sided with him. My friend also told everyone in our circle what I said, and no one is understanding of my perspective. Am I really a jerk for assuming this? She never showed much energy about this job. Opie, what are you doing? I just wanted to throw my Crowa key in there. OP. Why, OP? Why? Well, you know what they say about assumptions here. They make a jerk out of you and me, right? Okay. OP, everyone in your life is telling you that you're a jerk in this situation, and no one's siding with you, and now you're reaching out to the internet in hopes that the internet will sympathize with you. Unfortunately, OP, judging by the judgment you got on this forum, it does not seem that you are going to get that kind of sympathy. You know, you should have probably asked her why she quit her job instead of making the assumption. You could have said something like, hey, I'm really sorry to hear that your job didn't work out. What happened? And then she could have explained to you, or just said, hey, I'm not really comfortable talking about it. Or she could have said, explained it to you at that point in time. Just don't make assumptions like this. It's very tacky. It's very insensitive. And, allow someone to tell their story and not fill in the details for yourself. And, I mean, it sounds like you're not really too much better than her coworkers, given that you are, what do you, I mean, it sounds like they were gossiping about her and all kinds of stuff. And here you are thinking bad stuff and being kind of, like this behind her back and be like, oh yeah, she's too weak for her job. And really, I understand why she would have left her job because she's too weak for it. Apparently she wasn't too weak for her job because she did it for quite a while, it sounds like, before she got tired of her coworkers being unsupportive of her. So maybe you really should reevaluate your stance on your friend here and, give them a fair shake. It sounds like you just don't give them enough credit for the type of person they are. So, yeah. Anyhow, take care and good luck. Maybe you'll get things sorted out and realize that you're in the wrong here. You're the jerk. She lost her baby. Her company didn't even care. And apparently neither do you, because you described her period of incredible emotion turmoil as ghosting you. It can take weeks just to physically heal from a pregnancy loss, depending on how far along she was and if she had any additional complications. If she needed time to be alone and try to process what happened, that was the right thing for her to do, and you should not be trying to make this about you in any way, shape, or form. I don't remember how long I was silent after my miscarriage. I told close people after the fact, but all I really remember at the moment is that I called into work for a few days and laid in bed crying and bleeding during my off hours for, I don't know, a while. And I wasn't even very far along, 6 week tops, with a second, but it was definitely the hardest physically. I wasn't deliberately ignoring everyone, I was just in a fog and overwhelmed by emotional and physical pain. You're the jerk, for sure. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving me a like. If you didn't, consider giving me a dislike. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.